Hey everyone, kind of been a while, but I've got some free time and I'm going to clean my knives today, so I decided why not make a video. Just kind of showing off my collection and which knives I like and why I like them, and maybe show them off to you guys just a little bit. I know I already said that, but let's get started here. Probably the knife that gets the most pocket time that I don't think I've shown yet in a couple of my other videos is the 54 Moose by GEC. Stag covers. And Stag doesn't match very well, but I like the mark side cover so well that I chose this one because I just thought that it was excellent looking. So because they don't match so well, I decided it wasn't a big deal if I went ahead and used it. It's definitely a little stained up, as you can see. I think I've had this knife for just about a year. And the blade setup is ideal for what I feel I need to carry around. I use that spear pretty much on any food and the clip on anything else. So it's got a nice little patina on the spear blade there. So that's definitely my favorite knife. Probably my most collectible knife, which I finally broke down and got a Barlow. This would have been, I think, my first one that I got shortly after I got the Northfield Everyday Barlow. Really want the Madison Barlow, but we'll focus on this one right now. It's got the red saw cut bone covers, which I don't think are going to show up very well. Really a big fan of that saw cut. Nice little swedge on the spear point blade. This is just a classic traditional design. And of course it's got good centering, perfect fit and finish. Gonna keep this one nice, more than likely. Again with the saw cut, this is the slim calf roper. I do have a calf roper Stockman that I recently got, maybe a couple weeks ago. I like the Stockman better than the slim one, but I really like the covers on this. Look at that saw cut. Red jigged bone, red saw cut bone, I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of that blade, that master blade. I like it. I think it's very utilitarian. Actually, for small fish, I'm sure that would be great for at least aiding in the fillet process. Got a very nice secondary blade. If you guys have seen my other videos, you know I am a fan of the pen blade. What I've also come to find is that I am a fan of the single spring knives, which is why Derek Bone gets me almost every time when he makes a video, especially on his Northwoods line, which I'll get into here. Not all of them, but most of his Northwoods knives are on a single spring, and I'm a huge fan of that. So the first Northwoods I ever got was the Indian River Jack. And this is a queen knife, and the fit and finish on most of them kind of let everybody down. Mine's pretty good. The blue camel bone covers don't match very well. It's a little darker on the back. But I still think this is a great knife. Very firm pulls. It feels like it has a half stop, but it doesn't actually. It's just kind of rough on the action. But the fit and finish on mine is not bad. And they do pin the arrowhead shield in, which is a bonus for me. I'm a big fan of that. And it's got a steel that is a little more rust resistant. I think it's CPM 154. It doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It gets very, very sharp, and the blade is so thin that it makes an excellent slicing knife. Of course, I haven't really used it. It's more of a, these blue camel Northwoods knives are what you would call my guilty pleasure. This is my most recent Northwoods purchase. It's the Everyday Barlow. I've had this one for a while now. Of course, as one of my collectible pieces. I like those covers. Not quite as nice as my Northfield Barlow, but again, it's really not that bad. Probably not what I would call collector quality, but as Derek says in his videos, he wants people to use these knives. A little different looking clip blade, but super thin. Just super thin blade. Excellent slicing knife. If I had to pick a Northwoods knife to actually use, I'd probably go with this one. I like the blade. I like it's thin, but it's thin spring. Still got beefier covers than the Indian River Jack. Nice half stop. Look how that spring sits in the half stop position. Sits very well. And the centering on this, not terrible. Not going to rub. I'll show you my other Northwoods knife. That's their half whittler. Not even going to try and pronounce what their name is for it. Some Oregon thing. But I'm a big fan of that Wharncliffe blade. I feel like it's, as far as utilitarian use, I get a lot out of the Wharncliffe blades. Just, at work and around the house, digging stuff out. What Derek calls a stout pin blade in his video for this knife, I would have to agree. Not as comfortable. Well, it's not bad. But overall, I like this knife probably the most. I've actually used this one a little bit. It's not mint. It started to stain up, and as soon as I started to see those little pepper flakes on the blade, I panicked and I got the mineral oil on it, and into the knife roll it went. But a big fan of that blade. I am just dying for the Fremont Jacks to come out, because you can bet that I will be on that. Be on the hunt for one when they're released. Secondary market, they're like $200 and $300. A little rich for my blood. Here's the Dixie stock knife by Great Eastern Cutlery. I'm a big fan of Stockman's three-bladed knives. This one's just a little too big for when I go to work, though. It's actually not bad. I've used this one quite a bit, as you can see. Big fan of that blade. Big fan of that blade. Actually, I'm a big fan of the setup on this knife as a whole. Check out that secondary blade. And last but not least, little drop point / spay blade. I really like it. I really like the micarta, maroon micarta handles on this knife. Kind of reminds me of those old-timer knives back in the day when they were made here, which I do have a few of those. I'm not going to get them out today. But I like those old-timer knives. Here's the knife that almost started it all. I keep losing this knife, and because of that, I just said, you know what, put it away. It's gotten great use. I can get this knife pretty sharp. I took it on a fishing trip to Kentucky with me, and on the way home I just kind of sat in the car with my diamond stone and played with it, and it got scary sharp. But yeah, I don't carry this one as much, because every time I carry it, it comes up missing, and it takes me weeks and months to find it. But the 15s are just an excellent pattern that GEC makes, and I'm a big fan of them. I've owned quite a few of them. This is the only one that I've kept because it was my third Great Eastern Cutlery knife. Another Jack, almost identical to the 15, is their 77. Same frame as the Barlow that I showed you earlier. I'm a big fan of that ebony, how it's not dark. I like dark ebony, but I also like this lighter stuff. This is really a no-nonsense knife. Excellent, nice, long pin blade. I've used this knife a little bit. I put it up because I got something different, which I'll get to in a minute. Actually, I can't remember which one replaced that one, but on to what I'm trying to get into the rotation nowadays is, this is a calf roper Stockman I mentioned that I had earlier. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Stockmans, and this one is, for a 3.5-inch knife, it's built like a tank. Not a fan of that blade etching. It's a little loud for me. But that'll go away with time. But this one is engraved. Not a big fan of the engraving. Got number 14, as you can see, but I just really like those bone handles and the way they're jigged. This is the purple, I think it's purple sage. Nice little sheep's foot blade. And again, I said this before, I like having a spear blade as a secondary. And spade blades throughout time really haven't gone over well with me, but I like the way that one's kind of bent. And it's not straight all the way across, so I really like that blade shape. And I do use it a lot. So this is, I mean, all these Great Eastern knives have excellent fit and finish. I've never come across one that I had an issue with. Getting into the Queen knives, I've got a Sow Belly by Queen. No, I'm sorry, Shatton Morgan, which is Queen, but... And what I did to this knife is I took the kick on a bench grinder to all 3 blades, and I ground that kick down so everything would ride nice and low. Look at that kick. That was definitely not like that when I got this knife. I bought it as a second from collectorknives.net, so I mean it was not cheap, but kind of left a little room where I didn't mind doing some of my own work to it. Not great steel on this knife, but the overall fit and finish is good. It's a good knife. Not bad on the back springs. I think the reason it was a second is because of that pin right there. Kind of cratered out. But on the sow bellies, I'm a real big fan of how the frame of the knife just sets that spay up just to go right in your hand. I like that a lot. Going to try and speed it up here. I'm not going to get the blades out on this. It's a nice little balloon whittler by Queen. Again, I bought it as a second just to use. Not a bad little knife. Not a bad little knife. My conductor whittler was nicer by GEC, but it was also almost twice the price. Here's a 1975 K Stockman, and I think I paid about $35 for this. And the reason I like it so much, some of you may know, but it's got half stops on every single blade. Now, I haven't really ever heard of a Stockman with half stops, but this one has it, and it is super nice. Very stiff pulls. Listen to that snap. Not bad at all, is it? And then, of course, I've got my little $35 Case Stockman. I think it's a 2015 model. 0 attachment to this knife. If I lose it, I'll just buy another one. Blade setup is good. Fit and finish is not bad. It's kind of on par with Queen, if you ask me, but nice CV steel, so I'm a big fan of that knife. That's it for my pocket knives. I try to only keep one tactical knife at all times. If I get a new one, I'll probably sell this one. Right now I've got the Striker that came from Knives Shipped Free. It's not their special edition with the carbon fiber handles, but it's a full-size version. I like it a lot for, we'll say, modern folder. I like that one a lot. I like that axis lock. Oh yeah. I guess I'll break it out anyway. I did have a Lanny's clip that I sold. What did I do? Bought another one. See, I had the antique bone. I traded it for the chestnut. This one I bought used for a very good price, and when it came, it was like, I didn't notice. It looked brand new, basically. But I've definitely sharpened it, and I got it at a price where I just felt like I had to use it, so I do use this knife. Still a little thrown by the shield, but it's alright. I'd really like, they've got their new Bose knife is a cattle knife, and I think it would be really cool to own one of those, but I do use this knife actually. I guess real quick I'll show you some of my fixed blade knives, kind of wiring down here. This is a Bark River Canadian Special. Bark River knives are addictive. I don't have a lot of use for them, but I do take it fishing with me. Maybe just a little big to be carrying around, but I do like this knife a lot. And I get what all the fuss is about with Bark River. A lot of people don't like them, but a lot of people do. I'm a big fan of them, so I do have a Bark River Canadian Special. I own a Hess knife. Hess? Yeah, Hess. Bought this from Knives Ship Free. And right after I bought it, Collector Knives started carrying the stacked leather version. So I kind of wish, this is Cocobolo. A nice little bird and trout knife. I do take this fishing with me more than I take the Canadian Special, but Hess knives are extremely nice. Nice little pocket, not pocketable, but you know, it's a friendly size. You know, it's a cute little thing. Built extremely well and very sharp when I first got it. It probably won't be my last Hess knives. I'm a big fan of this one. Comes in a little sheath. I like this knife a lot. Here's my fillet knife that came out of my great-grandpa's tackle box. And they still make these. It's the Rapala or Rapella knife. However, we did a little bit of work to that handle. So this one's like, oh geez, probably from the 40s or 50s. But it's got real nice steel on it. It actually says Finland on the sheath. I don't know if that means that's where it was made. But I'm a big fan of this fillet knife. Works pretty well for me and what I do. Very sharp, very nice and flexible. So that's neat that I have a knife that's, you know, 65-ish years old. I guess when he passed away, they were going through his stuff, and it was in a tackle box of his that he really hadn't used since, you know, way back when. So I don't know the exact age of this knife, but it's old. It's got a nice little sheath with it, and still works just fine. Here I've got a Bowie knife. This was my grandpa's. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know it's nice. It's really nice because it says Soligen Germany on it. African Hunter. Handmade, hammer forged. And then very faintly it says Soligen Germany on it. I don't use it for anything. It's really old. It's really nice. Definitely been used way back in the day. Really old looking sheath with it. You know, I just kind of keep it because it belonged to my grandpa. Well, he's still living, but when they moved, he found it and he knew I liked knives, so he gave that to me. Pretty nice. Here's a cool one that came from Alaska. Now, supposedly, this is a custom knife. Supposedly, this is some sort of, gosh, I want to say, whatever it is that came off of a walrus, whether it be bone or tusk. At least I think that's what it was. And then this is supposed to be, this cap here is supposed to be mastodon. So that's kind of cool. Definitely a nice little knife. Bought it from a local up there who supposedly is legally allowed to use those materials, being a native. So Bob Mary, Alaskan made. So if anybody knows, I don't know a whole lot about this knife. If anybody knows anything about it, I would love to hear some more about it. But it's very comfortable. I don't use it for anything, but it's extremely nice. That about does it for my knife collection. I have more, but it doesn't look like we're going to make it to them today. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy it.